Welcome to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast, a space where we break free from tradition, creating a wedding day totally authentic to you and your love story. I'm Abby, UK wedding planner and owner of Elegance Unlimited, here to help you plan a wedding day that feels uniquely yours. Join me for planning tips and advice, endless inspiration, and a pocket full of calm within the chaos that is wedding planning. Consider me a trusted friend, here to walk you through it all. From injecting fun splashes of personality into your day, to reinventing tradition completely, all whilst focused on building a day bespoke to your dreams and desires. I cannot wait to get started, so let's get planning. Hello, thank you for joining me again on the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. This is episode 3 already, which is crazy. That's going so quick, but I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope that you are finding it helpful. I am having a fabulous time recording it for you. I'm very much enjoying myself. It's everything I hoped it would be. So I hope that you're enjoying it as well. Otherwise, it's just me on my own in a room having a nice time. But yeah, hopefully you're having a good time too, is my point. Now, we have been dipping our toe into the world of wedding planning. So if you've missed anything so far, like I said, we're only on episode 3. So there's not too much to catch up on if you want to go back and start from the beginning. That would be so fab to go and listen to all of them. But so far, we've talked about how to plan for your wedding planning, all the things you need to do to prepare, and how to set a budget and stick to it. So 2 kind of key things there, really, kind of important things that you want to be doing in those beginning stages. And all of these things are going to set you up for success and help you to have the wedding planning journey of your dreams and the wedding of your dreams as well. Okay. All very important things. And all the things that I want you to be feeling as well. We don't want any stress around here. We don't want any negativity, any sadness. We just want all the fun, all the good vibes. Okay. So if you've done all the things that we've already talked about, and all the little tasks that I've been recommending along the way, then you should be up to speed. You should be very much ready to kind of carry on, keep going. So amazing. Well done. Congratulations. If you're not, then there's nothing wrong with that. You can listen to this episode and carry on. Or, like I said, you can go back and listen to the first 2 episodes and then join us back here for number 3. There's no particular order to be listening to anything in, by the way. This isn't kind of like a chronological, you have to listen to it from start to finish. It's purely just because these are the first few episodes of the podcast. I am kind of taking us through the beginning, the beginning stages of wedding planning. So kind of those basics, the first things I would do. And once we've got that out of the way, then it's kind of every man for himself, really. Anything goes. Surely. And, by that point, I'm sure I'll have plenty of feedback from you guys about the things that are really important to you and the things you want me to talk about some more. So at the moment, I'm kind of just throwing anything at you and seeing what sticks. So hopefully it's helpful. Make sure to let me know if it is or if it isn't. A quick reminder of who I am. If you are new here, my name is Abby. I am a wedding planner in the UK. I've got a little business of mine called Elegance Unlimited. And that's where Your Wedding Unlimited kind of originated from, really. Anything is possible. We keep the elegance and the luxury whilst bringing in all of the fun, all of the possibilities. And I wanted to bring some of that here for you guys too in the podcast space. So without further ado, we're going to get straight on into it today. Today, we're talking all things wedding venues, specifically how to choose the perfect one. How do you know when it's the right wedding venue for you? So let's do it, shall we? Now, many people will say that, when you find your perfect wedding venue, you just know, like, this is the one. And yes, that might be true. Not doubting that at all. But there's just so much more to consider than that, I think. Like, it's all well and good to see the perfect venue, but when it comes down to it, does it tick all of the boxes or as many boxes as it can? It's very unlikely that it's going to tick everything off. But does it, where does it sit within that range of what's perfect and what's not? And, your wedding venue is the foundation for your whole day. So like the budget that we talked about last week is like the foundation for what's possible, because that's the foundation for what you can spend and kind of the type of suppliers and the type of wedding you can plan based on your budget. Your venue is the foundation for the vibes. Yeah. For the energy, for the atmosphere. The venue sets the scene, call it like a set for your wedding day. So it's really important to get that right, I think, and to get the right vibe, the right kind of feel that you're going for. And it might look down on paper, it might have everything that you think it's ever possibly going to need, everything you thought you'd want from a venue, but it might just feel really cold and like not the right vibe, or just like a bit of a weird energy. And you're just thinking, no, I can't picture myself getting married here. And that's fine, because things change along the way, don't they? And I think it's really important to remember that you can change your mind. And one of the real reasons why I recommend not making such big kind of quick decisions when you're booking suppliers, researching or things like that. I know to some degree we don't recommend waiting very long, because suppliers can get booked up, a year, 2 years in advance. So you don't want to miss out on the suppliers that you want. But at the same time, making such a quick decision within a couple of days of finding someone that you might like you might change your mind in a week or two. So there's kind of like a balance that you need to find there with finding, the suppliers that you love and booking them and securing them, and venue is one of them, because venues do get booked up way in advance, and also knowing when you need to kind of keep looking or when to keep your options open. So, and it's just a tough one. You're not going to know it instinctively always. So, yeah, this will hopefully help to kind of get you thinking about a few things that can help you make that decision when choosing your perfect wedding venue. Because the venue, I mean, my God, there's so many stunning venues in the UK, like so many. And every time I think I've just like I know all of my favorites, or like the ones that I'm just loving right now, something else will pop up on Instagram for me, or I'll see another one. I'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, there's endless amounts of beautiful venues, and all in different styles as well. Like, you could go for your classic church wedding, you could go for a barn, you could like go for your marquee weddings, like literally get a field in the middle of nowhere and just build it from scratch. Or your industrial style, like anything can be turned into a wedding venue these days, which I really kind of love that. Now that there's more flexibility with where you can kind of legally get married, it doesn't always have to be under that kind of structured four-post thing. The whole venue can be licensed and you can get married anywhere. There's so much more freedom with that, and I love that. It leaves us with so many more options and so much more kind of to play with in that arena. So yeah, I really love that. But yeah, let's get into some of the things you might want to think about when choosing your perfect venue, when you're on the hunt for the right one, when you're doing the research stages. I'm going to get this one out of the way at the beginning, because I might hear a few groans from a few of you, but you need to know your budget. I know it's the third episode in a row I've talked about budget, but there's no stopping me, honestly. I'm going to bring it back briefly to last episode and why it's so important, but you need to know how much you can afford to spend on a venue. And the last thing you want to do is to go and just start looking around venues, because obviously you're so excited, right? You're engaged. Of course, you're so excited and you're like, oh my God, we can go, and like they've offered us to go for a site visit and we can go and have a look around and we might be able to get married here, and that's amazing. But if you haven't done enough of the prep to find out what your actual budget is for a venue, what you can afford, then you might go there, look around, fall completely head over heels in love with it, and then realize you can't afford it. What a punch to the gut. That's just not a feeling that I want for anyone. So know your budget. Know a rough number, a range at the very least, and know what the absolute maximum that you are willing to pay is. Remember that you are often going to have to pay for your catering on top of that, even if they provide it in-house, because it's all dependent on how many people you invite and the numbers and things. And we'll kind of get onto this later, but they're not going to include everything. So there are going to be some questions you need to ask about what specifically does come with that and what extra costs are going to incur to you. You might get a cheaper venue, but they don't include, chairs or tables or linen or anything like that. So you then that's an extra cost that you're going to have to find from somewhere else. You might not actually be saving as much as you think. There's different ways to look at it and different questions to ask yourself, but the very bare minimum is you need to know what your absolute maximum you're willing to spend is, and find a few places to go and visit. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with tons and tons of options to go and visit, because it's time consuming, and also it's mind consuming. You're going to get overwhelmed and be like, oh my gosh, now we have too many choices because I love them all. You want to have a few options, go and look around them, and then kind of go from there. See how you're getting on, see if any of them tick the right boxes for you. Now, this is a good time to draft your guest list as well. If you haven't done it already, you don't need to know final numbers, but what you do need to know is the space big enough? You know, if you're wanting 150 people in there of an evening, you know, when all of your extra kind of guests turn up and arrive, can you fit them all in? Or is it no, our maximum's 100? Okay, well, is that a deal breaker for you? Do you just have less people in the evening? Does that not bother you if it's your perfect venue? Or do you need to rethink some things? Likewise, you don't want to be going to get a massive, huge venue if you've only got, you know, 20, 30 people. Not to say it's not possible at a big venue, but you have to then think about the flow of the day, because people do, they like stick to the walls. They're like bugs, I find, at weddings. Like, not all of them, but some weddings people do, like they, you know, like at any party or event, and people like stick to the walls when they're having conversations. Like, they might migrate over to the edges of the room or the edges of the space, and you lose people. You lose that intimacy and the flow of the day. And if you have a huge, massive space with not many people in it, you're not going to be filling it, and it's going to feel off. So think about those things as well. How could you utilize a space to have a perfect flow? If you're having a smaller wedding but they've got a really big space, what parts of it could you use? What parts of it might you not need to use? Sorry. And, you know, is it worth it for the money that you're going to be putting into it? Like I said, rough numbers is fine. You're not going to know final numbers at this point. You're like just getting started, but you want to know how many people are on your list to invite. And writing your guest list is a whole other box of fun, isn't it? We can talk about that. Don't worry, we can talk about that. I know it's stressful for some people, and I know it's a lot. The politics of it all is rather overwhelming, isn't it? But yeah, rough numbers, go in with an idea, and it's really going to help you when you're looking around and seeing that space and picturing your guests in there. Now, the third thing I want you to think about is to ask yourself, does it tick 90% of our boxes? Like I said earlier, you're really going to struggle to get 100%. You'll be very lucky to get a venue that ticks every single box. Even visually, they might tick every single box, but then they might have restrictions in other places. Like, some compromise is always going to be involved in that process, because you didn't make the venue from scratch for you. You know, they've made the venue to cater to multiple different couples across the year. It might be designed to cater towards a different specific style of wedding or a specific type of couple, but either way, everybody's different. Everybody's got different things they want involved, different things that are important to them. So you need to really have a list of things that are important to you, and there's lots of questions that you want to ask during this process as well. Hopefully, really good venues will give you a really nice kind of chunky FAQ kind of information where you can look through and be like, okay, can we do this with the space? What's allowed with this? Is this included? What happens if this? Can we, you know, all these different things. There's 100 questions that I would be asking. You can Google some, and you can find checklists on Pinterest and places like that. If it would be helpful for me to put one together, let me know at the end of this episode, because that could be good. We could do an episode talking about all of those things as well. But main kind of things, because you don't want to be wasting your time, and you don't want to book and then realize, oh, this was kind of a big deal for us to be able to do, and now we've booked them and we can't change our minds. Know your priorities first. That's a big one. So what's really important to you to have there? Some things won't matter. Like, if your priority is having a perfect dress, well, that's not really relevant to your venue, but priorities that are relevant to your venue. So if your priority is, we absolutely have to have a fireworks display in the evening, so important to us to have. Well, you need to make sure that your venue even allows fireworks. And it might not be their fault if they don't. It might be the licensing and due to the area and things like that. I did a wedding recently where they'd planned to have fireworks. Their heart was set on it. And not too long before the wedding, they'd been informed that due to like the licensing or the restrictions around the surrounding areas, they were no longer allowed to do the fireworks. And obviously, you know, they'd booked this venue way over a year, closer to 2 years in advance, maybe, found their perfect space. They loved it. It was right for them. And at the time, they could do fireworks. And at, you know, closer to the time, that was kind of taken away from them. Something like that, obviously, you can't control. I get that. You know, obviously, the venue couldn't do anything about it. The couple couldn't do anything about it at that point. It was just kind of an unfortunate thing. It's something that I'd really recommend you kind of being aware of and on top of, like things that you need to ask the venue. At bare minimum, you need to ask the venue if it's even possible to do, right? And kind of connected to that, you want to know how much freedom you can have with that space. Some venues are very strict with this is how we do things. This is what we offer. This is what you can do. our decor goes, they won't be willing to take certain things off the walls for you, or like at Christmas time, no, the Christmas tree has to stay. So things that you need to think about like that. If you're getting married in December, there's going to be Christmas decorations around a venue sometimes. Is that something that you've talked about in advance that you are going to take down? Had that in agreement in writing? Or are you going to get to the time and suddenly in the background of all your wedding pictures, you've got like silver tinsel and baubles and Christmas trees? And maybe that's your vibe, great. But if it's not your vibe, that's a bit of a bit of an annoyance, isn't it? That you weren't planning on. So, yeah, how much do you want taken care of for you? How much do they offer to do for you? Do they sort the linen for you? Will they do anything with the tables and set up and stuff for you in the morning? Any of your decor, will they do that for you? Or will they not do that for you? When can you get into the venue? Do they make sure that nobody's booked in for a wedding the day before so that you can get in and set up and do what you need to do the day before? Or are you on that kind of time crunch in the morning? And unfortunately, a lot of venues will, because they want to book and take the bookings, it's left to that kind of time crunch and you can't get into the morning, which is a real shame. And it's doable, definitely doable. It's just more stressful in some ways. So if you don't want that stress and you don't want the extra kind of added, thing to think about, question it in these stages. And you know what? Ticking all the boxes for your venues, like that's a task in itself. That's a communication and a compromising task that you and your partner have to go through together, and kind of sit down when you've been to those venues and decide what was really great about this one, what didn't we like, is it going to bother us that much, can we work around it? There's different things that you need to ask and think about. Similarly with timings of getting in the morning of to be able to set up your decor. Even some places will say, well, you can't get in to use, if you're getting ready at the venue, you can't get in to use our bridal suite until 9 a.m. But maybe you have like 7 or 8 bridesmaids that all need their makeup and hair doing, and you've got, weddings at 12 o'clock. And you're then limited with all your time that you have to get ready. So is that logistically time-wise going to work for you? You will not know everything at this point in time. You will not have all of the information you need. It's going to change, it's going to adjust, it's going to adapt. But this is why knowing the basics and the main things is really important, to know what you're going to be able to do on the day, how it's going to affect the wedding day when that comes around. And yeah, just thinking all of those things through. I think it's something that's really easy to kind of forget or not think about. I think, oh, we'll think about it later. Like, we just love the venue, everything else will fall into place. And it might, but some people have really kind of specific things that they want, and that's fine. So think about that. Obviously, on that list is the style of venue. Is it right for you? Is it the right kind of space? Is it what you pictured of in your wedding pictures and wedding video, or whatever you choose? Looking back, is that the kind of venue that you really wanted? Does it tick those boxes, and does it feel right? You may have questions like, is accommodation available for myself and my partner, or for our guests to be able to purchase? What's close by? What's local? What's going to work for our guests? Particularly if you're having a wedding that's further away and people are going to have to come and pay that money to stay overnight. It's not something they could drive home from in a night. Then you have to think about things like that too. Is it going to work logistically? And another question that I always really like to ask, or at least get my couples thinking about, is what's the team like at the venue? Now, most of them will be absolutely delightful. Okay, they're going to be lovely, but not everyone gets on with everyone, and not everyone's vibes are the right kind of vibes that you're hoping for. So, what's the team like? Are they friendly? Are they really helpful? Do they seem like the kind of people that are going to go out of their way to give you the wedding of your dreams? Or do they seem like they're all kind of working to a strict protocol that isn't going to leave you much flexibility? How does that feel with you? Now, it is worth bearing in mind that the team might change. If you're booking your wedding 2 years in advance, there's a good chance that team will change and adjust and adapt over time. So I wouldn't get your heart set on like, we're definitely going to have this person working with us on the day, because when you're booking venues and their internal wedding team, it's quite likely to change unless they own the place themselves. It might change. They might have, hired their wedding team, their venue coordinators and event coordinators internally, that in 2 years' time they might not be there. And some couples get to the day and they think, oh, well, we've been talking to this person this time, and they're not even supporting us on the day, or they've just left a few months before, and the new person that's come, like, it's not what we were expecting. So just be aware of things like that. If you're looking for one specific person that you want to trust and take care of your whole wedding day, then I do recommend a wedding coordinator for that. If you haven't got a wedding planner that's going to be there, because then at least you have one person that's been through that whole journey with you. They can advocate for you. You trust them. and you know that they're going to be there on the day. More importantly, I think, taking into account what's the team like in terms of what are their values like? How do they work as a team? What kind of energy do they bring? What type of people do they hire? Is that the kind of energy we want around us on our wedding day? All of these things that like are things that I would be thinking about because they all impact another. I'm not going to plan this amazing, perfect wedding day for myself and my partner to then choose a venue where the team are just like not too interested, not really that present or engaged, and aren't giving me the right vibes. Unfortunately, you will find places like that. Not everywhere is going to go above and beyond and out of their way to give you the best day. They're just working. So think about all of those sorts of things. And like I said, there are hundreds of questions, hundreds of things I'd be factoring in. Simple things from ticking off and being like, is there enough parking? Do they offer this? Can we choose, can we choose our own catering? A lot of venues will offer specific caterers or their own in-house catering, and you can't deviate from that. If you wanted to bring your own, then that venue is not going to be right for you if it's a non-negotiable for you to have a specific caterer, a specific type of food. So questions that need to be asked and think about at the beginning, how important is it to us? Now, this was kind of a quicker, snappier one today. I've kind of gone through all of the points I wanted to share regarding choosing your perfect wedding venue. So we'll do a little roundup and kind of give you the key takeaways from all the points today. But yeah, this was kind of like a quick one just to get you thinking about your venue and choosing the perfect space for you. Like I say, as always, if there's anything you want me to dive deeper into regarding that, or any more questions you have about choosing your venue, if you're struggling to find the right one or anything like that, then let me know. But key takeaways from today: how to choose your perfect wedding venue. You want to do these things. Number one, you need to know your budget. Okay. You need to know how much you're willing to spend or how much you can afford to spend on that space before you go committing yourself to something, or heaven forbid, looking around somewhere, falling in love, and then realizing it's actually way out of our budget. Number two, you want to draft up a guest list. You don't need to know final numbers at this time, but you need to know, okay, we need a space that can cater for 60 to 100 people in a ceremony. Or actually, we're only planning on having 20 people at our wedding. This place is going to be far too big for us. Knowing those rough numbers will give you a really good idea as to what kind of space you want and what's going to work for you on your wedding day. Number three, you need to know your priorities. It's really important to know what your non-negotiables are when it comes to a wedding venue, what it has to have, what it cannot have, in under any circumstances, and what you're a bit more open and flexible on. Know those things before you go in, and it's going to make you feel much more confident in being able to kind of make those quick decisions and decide if it's the right space for you or not. You want to consider what type of venue and atmosphere you want. So is it the right type of style of venue for you? Maybe you wanted a barn venue and you found a beautiful barn, but does it feel right once you're inside it? Can you picture yourself getting married there? It's all about that feeling and creating the feeling that you want on your wedding day. You want to consider the logistics of things. Is it the right type of space for you in terms of location? Does it offer accommodation? Is it going to work for you and your guests as well? Don't forget to consider, if you get on with the team or the people at the venue, what type of people are they hiring? Don't get tied to specific people at the venue because they might not work there in 2-3 years' time. But do they hire the type of people that are going to go above and beyond for your wedding day and make you feel really, really special and important? And finally, does it feel right for you? Does this feel like your wedding venue? They do say that when you know, you'll know, just like when you're finding your partner. But does it feel like the perfect place for you to get married? I want to know how you found your perfect venue, if you have already, or what are the things you're looking for from your perfect venue? So let me know, pop me a message, slide into the DMs, let me know how you found your perfect venue, what that experience was like, or, if you're kind of getting ready to do that now, how you're finding that process. I really want to know. As I mentioned already, if you want a full list of questions I would be asking, I can do a little checklist for you. I can pull something together that you can ask your venue and check that they offer or that they can answer for you before booking. Let me know. I can pull that together for you. But I want to keep this conversation going this week, okay? I want to keep this going in the chat room. So come and join my private Facebook group. If you haven't already, come and join my private Facebook group called Your Wedding Unlimited. It's a little behind the scenes space. It's some extra wedding tips. It's lots of fun, lovely engaged couples just like you that you can come and connect with me in there. You can ask questions and share all of your wedding tips and advice. So we'll keep the chat going there this week, talking all about venues and things like that. So come and find us. Just a little reminder that if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave me a little review. It would mean the world. Only 5-star reviews, please. If you didn't like it, then just keep walking. I'm kidding, obviously. But yeah, if you do have time to leave a review, it would mean the absolute world. And other than that, I will see you next Wednesday for episode 4. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited to create your dream wedding day and those lasting memories. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with more tips, advice, and inspiration. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. Come and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Your Wedding Unlimited, where I share even more wedding ideas and behind-the-scenes insights. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube at Your Wedding Unlimited. And if you're looking for even more support, come and join my private Facebook group, Your Wedding Unlimited. It's an amazing community of fun and authentic engaged couples, packed with extra tips, advice, and insights to guide you along your journey. If you have any questions or need more info, you can DM me or send me an email at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. All links and details will be in the show notes. Until next time, happy planning!